All right, we have a very, very special episode. This is the first episode where I've had two guests at the same time. So we may talk over each other a little bit. We're going to be aware of that. But let me give you guys a brief introduction. You know, I've got on the phone, first of all, Stouty, Chris Stoutenberg, the founder of Wheel WOD. You founded that in 2013. And it's been growing ever since, which is really cool. And then I have Logan Aldridge. I'd say the biggest way I'd introduce you is just you're the shredded dude with one arm. Is that the best introduction I can give you?
That's pretty accurate. They call me the hillbilly ninja sometimes too, since I do have a bit of a southern twang in my language sometimes. So yeah, it's pretty accurate.
You do have a southern twang. Where are you from? North Carolina, where I saw you last? No.
Born and raised, Raleigh, North Carolina. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So Logan trains at my good buddy. I don't know that I've ever spoken to you about it, but your box owner was a member of mine back in the day in like 2008.
Yes. Such a cool small world and like full circle to see all of this come back together and to hear him talk of you and as much as he did when I first started and how much he praised and revered you. And now to be sitting here looking at you on the screen on your podcast, it's unbelievable. It's surreal. It's pretty cool.
Well, don't believe everything John Prescott says about me. You know, most of it he's lying about. But
that's true. Right.
So I kind of wanted to push back the special announcement to make people listen to the whole episode. But let's dive into this. I'll let you guys kind of take the lead with it, but let me just kick it off a little bit. You know, Stouty, you started Wheel WOD in 2013, and you probably had no idea what was going to happen with it, right? You were just looking for a way to impact more people that wanted to do CrossFit.
Yeah, I was actually probably more selfish reason than anything. I finished competing with in basketball with the Olympic team, and I got into CrossFit and realized there wasn't really anywhere to compete. So I was competing with friends, I was like, oh, maybe we should put something together so we can get other people to compete. And then I realized quickly that I wasn't going to be competing anymore because someone needed to kind of steer this together. So then Wheel WOD evolved. I quit competing other than just playing along in the open when we would adapt it. And I started managing competitions. So it went from the very first open we adapted was 10 of us. And this last one was over 300. So it just, it's gone from 1 to 2 countries to 26 countries involved. It just blew up. We just didn't really know. But my original purpose was to give myself somewhere to compete and trying to get other people to compete with it.
So I do want to talk about, I had Kevin Oger on recently, and we talked all about adapting. It's interesting, though, because the open, you're basically putting out a workout, but you have all sorts of different ways of adapting the workout. So are there many criteria within every open announcement or even at competitions? And, either one of you can handle that question.
Yeah, for sure. The open, we're pretty on a time crunch. So we split into seated division, standing upper impairments and standing lower impairments. And then you'll get some sub classifications in there like neuro or visual impaired, short stature. Those get subbed into those 3 kind of categories. But basically they announce the open, and within 24 hours, we release our version of it. So we have to shoot movement videos. We have to write standards, because a lot of the competitions before we got involved that were out there wasn't many. They were more like a showcase. So there wasn't really any kind of standards. Everybody was kind of doing something different. There was, 8 guys on the floor, and none of them were doing anything that we could compare each other to actually get like a true winner. So we, over years and years here of testing and trying things and research, getting people to do workouts for us, seeing their times, judging their fitness level, we started work and we've come up with percentages. So if you're working with 2 arms versus 1 arm, what would that percentage of the weight look like when changing? So a lot of this has been years of, well, basically since 2013, of just dissecting all sorts of things. And every time you think you got it figured out, somebody shows up on the scene with something new. And I spent 15 years playing Paralympic basketball and going to the Paralympics 3 times. and I thought I'd seen every impairment out there, and then all of a sudden some guy shows up and he's like, I'm in the seated division, but I have no hands. And I'm like, sorry, can we swear on this?
Sure, sure. So, I have so many questions, but I do want this podcast to be about you guys. But I also want people to understand, like, the Paralympics is a really big deal. People kind of look at it like, oh, no big deal. That's like you went to the Olympics.
Yeah.
I had a woman that I think I told you this she was a member of my box, and she would ski blind people down. So she's skiing, and her, student, if you will, is blind.
Yeah.
Blind. Like, that's crazy. Like, they're getting by. Like, they had such a tight relationship. It was pretty awesome to see. And they went to the Paralympics, and that's when I found out, how big a deal that it's the Olympics. You guys roll into the, Toronto or wherever the next Olympics are, and just follow along. Is it like, are you guys getting as much, action as the Olympians are getting as far as the opposite sex?
It's pretty much, yeah. That's exactly what it is there the entire time.
That's what I hear. Is that true?
Well, there's a ton of, it's totally true, because you could compete the first day, depending on your sport. Basketball, not a chance, because we're there. We compete day 1, and day 14, we have our final. So you're basically just, you compete, you recover, you do something in the morning, you're back. You're not out cruising around. But there's guys that come in the first day, maybe they're doing like Kevin, if he gets there, bench press, it's over. He's there for 13 more days. Like, there's a lot of trouble to get into when there's a bunch of other really fit individuals from all over the world looking to get in trouble as well. So
yeah, but let's be honest about Kevin. No women are interested in that ginger. Yeah. So, all right, let me ask Logan a question. So when you were talking about the Open, immediately what kind of popped into my mind? You said standing, and so I'm envisioning, who's the guy at Wadapalooza? He's a little person, jacked. What's his name? Mikey. Awesome dude. I got to talk with him. Yeah. So Logan, from what Stouty's saying, are you like having to compete with him because you're both standing athletes?
Yeah, exactly. So Mikey gets lumped into the standing upper category, and frankly, that's just due to a lack of short stature population. So he is an incredible athlete, obviously, as we witnessed, but also more importantly, an incredible sport in terms of like the class that he has to compete. There are obvious massive disadvantages and sometimes advantages in the movement of CrossFit for him versus myself. But he knows and he understands in a competition like Wadapalooza, by him showing up, participating, and competing, he is the pioneer for the short stature population to realize there's a place for them in this sport competitively. Now, until we get more short stature athletes, it's tough for us to level the playing field for him versus someone like myself. There are ways in which we, modify or scale or reduce the weight, but we also are paying attention to, Stoutys the biggest focus on this. I'm competing, so I have this weird line between being an athlete in these events and also trying to be on the assistance of programming or understanding the ways that we should look at 1 point of contact versus 2 point of contact. But
yeah, you're like a player manager. You're like a player manager going out there. Like,
try to be. I try to separate it in my mind so I have unbiased feedback.
Okay, so I have a couple follow-up questions. One, I'm only like an inch taller than this guy. Right? So, like, I feel like he's able to compete with me, or I need to join that. So now the workout I'm thinking of, and then we will go into the announcement. Wall ball rowing comes up. All right. Now you're going against this guy. Granted, he's smaller, but to me, it seems like he still has the advantage. Am I completely wrong in that?
He loses it in we give him the right height for his wall ball. So Mikey's been our pioneer. Like, we test Mikey all the time. He's taken a beating just so we can get some decent results out of him.
Right.
But so the wall ball, we adjust the height so he can and kind of adjust the weight of the ball to where his maximum throw is, but not. But the rowing, he just can't. Like, he just doesn't. It doesn't work for him because he can only get his legs so far out, and then he's got to come back in where obviously the rowing, when you see a taller athlete, they have an immediate advantage. Well, now he's not anywhere close to the rest of the competitors. So he has to pull 3-4 times more stroke rate just to even try and hang, so he loses the advantage there.
Well, first of all, you're doing what I said CrossFit should do years ago and adjust the wall ball based on height. That's what they should do that for everybody. But
I bet
okay.
You wanted that done.
But then talk me through this, Logan. You're doing wall balls with one arm?
Right.
Oh, you just say it like no big deal. I can barely do them with two. So you're just like, right.
Well, you know, there are some there are definitely some tips and tricks and techniques that I've learned, and I use as much of my residual limb on my impaired side as I can to try to help create a shelf. But yeah, the way that ball is leaving my body and going in the air is with one arm. But that weight of that wall ball is also reduced because of that, because it's a single point of contact leaving the ball. So I'm using a 14-pound ball as opposed to a 20, which I guess when I first started, thanks to John Prescott, because he was like, hey man, it's a 20-pound ball. You got to train with 20-pound ball. So for a long time, wall balls were insanely hard and just blew my shoulder up. So when the adaptive standard for single upper became a 14-pound ball, man, I was in heaven. So it's been a really good way to have trained previously. And then as we've adopted these sort of standards, I love a 14-pound ball. It makes my world a lot easier. That's for sure. But yeah, there's little tips and tricks that I incorporate, like slightly turning away from the wall with my sound arm away from the wall a little bit more. That allows me to stay consistent with the target that I'm trying to hit. And these sorts of things have just been through practice, trial and error. What if I try this? What if we change up this? And that's been a really good learning experience. And by no means do I think that I have it right. But what I believe in more than anything in this journey of adaptive CrossFit is the open source principle. Whereas if I discover something, a tip or trick or technique or a device or some sort of attachment that helps me function better and increases my work capacity and decreases my limitation, the first thing I want to do is share that. And I'm so thankful for platforms like, Instagram, because I can share that and that can get circulated around and adopted internationally. And people that, I have a language barrier with, but through video and movement can adopt these things. So I think that's been the coolest way to watch the momentum of this adaptive community and competitive CrossFit really blossom. And that's what fires me up, like the education side, the sharing what I figured out, and then getting feedback, having someone else say, yeah, well, that works for you, but I'm a brachial plexus injury, which means like, arm is paralyzed across their body. They don't have that little chicken wing, as I call it, little lever that I have to use. So they have to adopt a sort of different technique. And I get to learn from those athletes as well. And I'm very fortunate, at Neuse River with John to have athletes like Kippy, who is a brachial plexus injury with her arm, and also neuro. She has some leg issues too, but it's really cool to see that. And then another athlete, Christy, who's a congenital below the elbow amputee. So she was born that way. And the ways in which she approaches things like wall balls or other movements is really cool for me as an upper extremity specialist, if you will, to see the variances of that right there in my gym every day.
Yeah, I know you wanted to chime in, Stouty, but just for me, it's so impressive. It's like CrossFit itself is new, and they're still learning every year in the Open or what was the regionals or in the games. I'm sure Castro goes back and evaluates and realizes his mistakes as well as his successes. And it's like, I can't even imagine how hard what you guys are doing is. Like, just hearing all of this, it's like so much to consider. So, it's only been 6 years since Stouty started it, and it's only going to grow. I mean, hearing about Mikey, first of all, I want to communicate with him after this and definitely chat with him because I have so many questions. But I would love to see, like, little person is the correct term, correct?
Yeah, we use short stature.
Short stature. Yeah. I'm so fired up about that potential. Like, I want to see a short stature division. That'd be amazing. I think that's happening. No doubt. That dude's Mikey is going to inspire people. And I saw that other woman. I know she has, she's short stature, but she is an amputee as well. She was featured on CrossFit probably about 6 months ago. And I mean, what she was doing with that snatch and all these things, you guys are just amazing. Did you want to chime in on that, Stouty? I know you were about to talk when Logan.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, Logan kind of had to go through the same deal. When I first started taking on the upper division versus just standing, I was like, okay, Logan, you get a 20-pound ball. And he's like, okay, like, never complained once. And then I tried adjusting the height. So I was like, okay, maybe it's 20-pound ball with a 9-foot target versus a 10-foot target. And then me and him going back and forth, he's like, you know what? If I watch him do someone with 2 points of contact on the ball, so can use both limbs to do it, and then I watch him around the same fitness level, we put him in a workout, and I'd like, okay, he moves at the same pace and speed as this guy who's just as fit as him with a 14-pound ball when he's on a 20-pound ball. And those are kind of those things that that everybody kind of had to go through. And still we go through just to get us to a level, even playing field. Because we don't have enough athletes right now to be like, okay, this is a visual impairment division. This is the, single arm division. This is the short stature division. We don't have that. So those other ones live sub kind of divisions inside the 3 main. And so lots of people have to take some lumps to learn. And we use the WOD Proof app now. We put out workouts. We have them film it so then I can watch and be like, okay, I know this guy's fitness level. He should be able to be moving faster. Why is he not ending up near the podium? Why is he always on the bottom? Where is he getting burned? And then I can see and be like, oh, he's getting eaten alive. And every time a rowing workout comes up, he's got one leg and he's just getting smoked by it because he's only got one leg. What does that look like? And how do I compare him against somebody else? But yeah, Logan's taking a lot of lumps for me, for sure.
Well, his abdominals are proof that he's putting in the hard work. So now all of this makes sense. Let's bring it back around now. Now I understand why this announcement is happening because, man, this is super detailed. I'll let you guys take it from here.
Yeah, okay. So it was last year after the games, I realized this is too much for me by myself. And Logan and I kind of been back and forth being on the adaptive CrossFit staff together, plus just in lots of regular conversations of trying to better the sport. And he would always open with feedback, and we were developing, pieces of equipment. And I can't do it on my own anymore. And it's growing, and we want it to continue to grow. Plus we have some pretty big ambitions to take this to another level. So yeah, Logan and I are going to be partners here on Wheel WOD now. So it's not just a one-man show anymore. Logan will be handling, we're trying to divide it up. He'll be handling like equipment development. He'll be doing programming, coaching, along with myself, because we do have our competitive programming plus our free daily programming running website. But he's also going to be, we have a ton of partners that want to partner up with us on stuff, and I just haven't been able to have those conversations because of it, because of just a lack of time that I have. So yeah, I'll let Logan chime in on that. But
well, congratulations on that. That's really cool. I love just, sometimes it's one of those situations I've been in business where, giving up part of something is going to yield tremendous results. And I'm sure bringing Logan on is going to help. So Logan, go ahead, say your piece on this.
Yeah, please. Frankly, first of all, just to hear it said still is surreal. It's an extreme honor. I view Wheel WOD and its platform and Stouty as an individual, hold them to the highest standard, and have always just sung praises and appreciation for the selfless hours and energy he's put into developing this incredible platform and organization. And I think, yeah, like Stouty said, over, the past years, like really talking and thinking like big picture, like the vision and the future of this. Like, yes, I do compete, and that is fun. And I am curious what my physical potential is and what I'm capable of. But more importantly, I'm trying to help build something much bigger than myself. And Stouty absolutely has the same vision and understanding of that. So when we're able to talk and have these sort of exploratory conversations, we always end up aligning on where we see this going and how we see it evolving. So when Stouty, and it's incredible how much he manages and how many hours, late nights and early mornings he puts in on watching videos and everything else. So the opportunity to come in, and I think we all have, strengths and weaknesses in our skill sets, and Stouty is a jack of all trades, but I believe I can come in and add some value for some sort of product development stuff, but frankly, a lot of working with the upper extremity athletes. That's something that I've just organically started to do through my Instagram, through just being a CrossFit coach and seeing athletes reach out to ask about, Logan, how do you use, what technique do you use in this movement, or how is that strap that you're wearing work? And so I like to share those sorts of things with these athletes, and then that turns into almost a pseudo coaching position where they're sending me videos and I'm helping them with their technique and form and setup of that equipment. So to talk to Stouty and get this opportunity was massive, because I believe exactly like you said, like first of all, I sing praises to him for having the wherewithal to give up some of his baby, like this is his baby, and I cherish it and treat it as such as mine as well now. But it's really exciting because the potential for what Wheel WOD can do for adaptive training as a whole is pretty massive. And as you've seen the shift, we all know in CrossFit's competitive platform and how that's working now with sanctionals, we're having a influx of interest for these adaptive divisions. The long-term goal and vision and future is that it's a part of the games, just like masters and teams and everything else. In order for it to get there, it's got to be a part of these other events. It is a pseudo part of the open in our way. We've got to make it a full part of the open. So we're doing all the right things. And I think I'm thankful that Stouty wants some help and he's willing to ask for it. And I'm honored to come in and align with him and help grow this thing to be a much more global force, global impact, to make sure that all the right intentions of inclusion are being done properly, effectively, safely, and with a proper guidance. And I think that's what Wheel WOD is really excited about for the future to be able to offer.
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited for both of you. Hearing all of this, what is your relationship right now with the games? Is it something that's kind of on the table? Is it, part of the games? Is it you roll in like the Olympics the next week?
No. So right now we host the Wheel WOD Games here. So CrossFit Games are definitely aware of us. They've reached out this year to try to include us in the leaderboard. It just wouldn't work completely this year because obviously we're putting sometimes different rep schemes together, different time domains. Like when we adapt, we have to adapt to the stimulus, not so much, a 20-minute AMRAP for someone with one arm may be too much. Like we may drop that to a 12-minute AMRAP because we can't overload athletes and injure them just for the purpose of trying to stay with what CrossFit has put out. So we definitely are on their radar. Right now, we run the games here, and there's talk of running the games in a couple other different places throughout the next couple of years. Here being Collingwood, Ontario. But we run through the open. We run on our own leaderboard through competitioncorner.net. But we still take the CrossFit Open workouts and adapt them to make sure that we're staying within and showing them like, hey, this is doable. Wodapalooza has been our biggest kind of supporter, and because of Wodapalooza and the success we've had there, that's our next step. Like one of the major reasons Logan and I started talking about this is because the offers for us to do competitions have increased crazy. We're going to be doing Warhorse Kansas City Games. We're doing Battlefield out in San Diego this year. I'm going to the Valor Games, which is a straight up adaptive competition, but it doesn't have a CrossFit component yet. So there's basketball and a couple other sports, but it's all adaptive athletes, like 100 adaptive athletes out in Oakland, California. I'm going there at the end of the month to basically just teach CrossFit. I'm there on the CrossFit hat, not the Wheel WOD hat, but teaching CrossFit in demos. So these athletes can see it and go, oh, I could do this at home as my training, which then in turn selfishly will give me contacts to get them competing as well. But we're looking right now. We've got some offers to go overseas twice next year, which is huge because we have a big population of adaptive athletes that are there that can't find the funds to get to this side of the pond. So that's been our biggest struggle. So if I think our best option is to go to them.
Well, plus no one wants to go to Canada, right?
Oh, come on. That's where everybody wants to
go. you guys have been at Wadapalooza since like 2015, I believe, right?
Yeah, my first time in, the first one was with Steph, and it was a showcase. And I saw it. I helped them program the workouts. And Guido actually reached out to me, and he was like, I don't want this to be a showcase. There was 8 athletes doing completely all different impairments, doing different things, and trying to have a competition. It just didn't pan out. So Guido pulled me in. I think it was in 2015. He pulled me in, and he said, make this a competition. Give me divisions. And each year it's grown. It's doubled almost every year.
I love it. It was really fun to watch this year. So I know we're going to wrap up. I want to hear from each of you your one piece of advice. If someone's listening and they know an adaptive athlete, they pass it on, and hopefully they listen. What's your one piece of advice for an adaptive person getting involved in CrossFit? You want to go first, Logan?
Yeah, well, that's something I did want to mention. A part of my excitement with the future of Wheel WOD is to create the opportunity for the adaptive population to realize something like CrossFit is the best thing they can do for their health. We all know how CrossFit can be so intimidating, and to walk or roll into a box, how intimidating that can be. So we want to be able to offer ways for adaptive individuals to begin thinking about what functional training looks like for them and how they can implement that right away in their own house, whether they're traveling in a hotel room. And then that can muster up and build the confidence and encouragement to go into the CrossFit affiliate, because all the CrossFit listeners can know the biggest, most impactful part of going to a box, in my opinion, and I think most would agree, is that community aspect and what that does for your psyche and your mental health, and then also your physical health, being around others to push you and help guide you through movements and get coaching and feedback. So my biggest message is to just get started. And I think that's why we're so excited about partnering, because I can help Stouty. We can help make sure that those daily wheelwod.com workouts are available and modified to be either body weight, able to do it at your house, do it in a box, do it with a few items, and really just get the wheels turning of the individuals who are curious but aren't able to fully commit. And then frankly, a lot of those athletes, like in the Paralympic platform, showing them how some non-sport specific training, some functional fitness training can increase their work capacity and make them a better sport specific athlete, whether they're a swimmer or a runner or wheelchair basketball. So I think my biggest message is just that, like, to just get started. Check out wheelwod.com. It's not just for seated athletes. It's not just for adaptive athletes. Any athletes can benefit greatly from it. On that note about John Prescott, he's been doing Wheel WOD individualized programming. That dude hated to run. I don't think he could run a 10-minute mile, and now he's running 7-minute miles. So the knowledge is applicable to any walk of life, to any individual. But we're trying to show the massive inclusion doesn't stop with just adaptive athletes, that Wheel WOD has something special to offer everyone. So come see what we're all about, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and I also saw John deadlift over 500 pounds the other day. So
he's crushing it.
It's clearly working. I do want to say one thing I've learned between talking to you guys and talking to Kevin, and I think I knew it. It's just kind of come to fruition. It's like it's just other people doing CrossFit. It's just more CrossFitters. It's like if you treat anyone like a person, I hate to be so cliche, and it's like we're all human beings. Like we all have our shit. Right? Whether it's we're sitting in a chair, have one arm, or you have emotional baggage like I do, right? We all have our shit. But we all need to exercise, and we all need to do CrossFit. And if that's it, talk to people like normal human beings, like you would anybody, and you're gonna learn. Stouty, did you want to give any advice? I mean, maybe that's the best advice. No matter what you're doing in this life, you need to do CrossFit. But that's really what it comes down to.
I definitely agree with that. The biggest thing I would say from all the years I've spent in adaptive sport, I've been in a wheelchair now for like 21 years, so half my age now. The biggest thing is don't get discouraged. I know a lot of people that come out, and sometimes, you know, gym owners aren't ready for them, and that's why the adaptive CrossFit courses existed, so we can help those gym owners be ready. But just don't get discouraged. I fail still daily. I fail so much. I fail more than I probably succeed. And the key to coming out on top each time is to take those failures, understand them, find someone who can help you with them, or kind of break them down into pieces to fix them yourself if you can't find a coach right away. But reach out to us. There's so many organizations out there now. Reach out to us. You can reach out to Crossroads. You can reach out to Adaptive CrossFit. We know everybody who's been trained around the world and are just dying for you to come through their door. So if you have one bad experience, don't let it be all your experience. And it's not intent. It's not the coach's intent. He's not trying to give you a bad experience. It's just not ready for you. But there are people out there that are, and those CrossFit coaches can get on board with what you're doing. So yeah, main message is just come out, try it. Don't get discouraged. Be prepared to fail. Be prepared to be humble. Be prepared, you know, coming from winning gold medals to having, when I first started struggling to try and clean an empty bar, was like, I just wanted to go home. I was like, screw this, man. I was like, I've been the best in the world. Now I can't move an empty barbell and a clean. Like, we didn't even know how to clean it yet. We hadn't even developed the technique to do that. I was just doing reverse bicep curls at that point in time. So yeah, do it, man. Like, just get off the couch and do it, and come out. And if you need us, we're here for you. We'll answer you anytime.
Well, not to be redundant, but just like Logan said, it's like, doesn't matter. Like, I had to leave my ego aside. I had to be prepared to fail, no different than anybody else. And you look great for 40 years old, by the way, Stouty.
Thanks.
So, last question I ask everybody on the podcast: do either of you, or do both of you, have a book you recommend the listeners check out?
The Obstacle is the Way.
You know what? I'm in that one right now. So I love that. I'm all things stoic right now, Logan. The Obstacle is the Way. I got my daily stoic, reading the Marcus Aurelius, what's his the diaries, not the diaries, but that book as well. So cool. I love it, Logan. Stouty?
Mine is Blue Planet. It has nothing to do with CrossFit. It's just a passion of mine. It's understanding how water and being close to water and being in the water helps you heal. And we used it. I did some Operation Surf stuff is when I was introduced to it. Operation Surf being surfing with veterans that have been permanently injured. Yeah, you got to read it to understand it. And when you read it, you'll never look at water the same way.
Very cool. I'll definitely check that out. I love being in water, so I'll go through that. I love hearing all the different books that come out with people, because really cool. Never would have thought of that. So super excited for you guys, and I definitely want to have you on again when it's competition time. I want to find out more. I mean, really, I have so many questions about this adapting, all these different workouts. And you can tell Mikey right now that I'm coming for him. I'm coming for him. Yeah.
There we go.
I want to have a head-to-head.
He hashtags every single post. Tyrion ain't got shit on me. You know,
all right,
from Game of Thrones?
Yeah. I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I know who you're talking about, and I heard there was a Starbucks cup in the last episode, but yeah, very cool. And I'm going to have him on the podcast, so I'll reach out. I'll get his number from you, but I'm super excited for both of you guys. I'm excited to put this out there and just to see the direction of this. It's so cool. I just hope more people are impacted, and I'm sure they will be. So you guys are doing something pretty cool in this world. You know, I had Cooper on talking about legacy, and you guys are creating that. So really awesome. Any last words from you guys?
Oh, just a tremendous amount of appreciation for this opportunity to share on this platform with you, Jason. Thank you so much. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Mark our words. We'd love to be back. We'll be back with even more incredible, exciting news and bigger things happening. So the future's bright, and we're really excited.
And actually, Stouty, before we sign off, tell everybody where they can find you.
So wheelwod.com, www.wheelwod.com, at wheelwod on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. You can email us at wheelwod@gmail.com, which will be switching soon to just being info@wheelwod.com. But the last thing I want to say before is we also are addressing some nutrition aspects of the adaptive community as well, through our Wheel WOD programming and through you.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited.
Getting that
You got to have the
platform
shameless
together.
plug, Jason. Come on.
You know, this is my podcast, so it wouldn't have gone live without a shameless plug in there. But,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, in talking to Stouty, it's funny because, you know, nutrition's the same way. You have to figure it out for different people, different, injuries and different things going on and different training. So, yeah, I'm excited to learn as well and be a part of it. So thank you guys for that opportunity.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a game changer for us. Thank you.